Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this time and space this Sunday morning. Appreciate you still taking the time on Sunday to be with us.
We appreciate you tuning in, and we would appreciate it even more if you'll text your friends and let them know that you're tuning into Unity of Boulder's 11 o'clock service.
Right, so on any platform you're on right now, even if you're on your website watching us, we now have the capability that you can share this to YouTube, to Facebook, and to Twitter. Right now, wherever you are, you can share that to your page or your stream so that other people can see the message you're watching right now and get the same impact you're receiving.
And we still have our food barrels outside of our church. So if you stop and you're shopping, pick up a few extra things, non-perishables if you will, just drive by and drop them in our food buckets, and we'll make sure they get to these food distribution places so those people that are in need will get that food. We appreciate that.
So what's going on in the world today?
I'll tell you what's going on. I'm confused. Some of the states have opened up their restaurants, but they still want you to wear their masks.
Right. Well, I think there's a system here. And I believe it's you take the mask, you're wearing the mask, you open the mask, you shovel the food into the mask, and then you eat it like a trough. It's a system like this.
Yeah, but what if you're eating mashed potatoes?
Well, there's a second option. You can get a mask like this, and then you can go directly into the mouth of the mask.
Man, you figured it out.
But the real question is, how does the waiter get the food to you?
Okay, well, you got that one?
We figured that out as well. We figured that out.
6 feet, 6 feet.
6 feet. So your waiter has this device right here.
So hold it. So you got that, and why don't you just go directly into the mask?
So I could just come and I could just administer the food.
Okay.
Like this.
Right, directly in.
6 feet.
We got it.
No contact.
Okay.
All right. Contact the FDA. Tell them we got the system worked out.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us online today. We're happy to have you here with us. We've got a few quick announcements. Basically, everything we're doing right now is on a website called zoom.us. We have coffee with the ministers 2 times a week where you can join in and chat with them, and that's on Tuesdays and Fridays at noon. Following this service at about 12:05 our time here, we're going to have fellowship with the ministers. You can sign in and join the discussion, ask them any question about stuff that you heard in the service today. It's a great time for that. Syntysche is hosting a weekly women's discussion group every Thursday at 6 p.m. All women are invited to just join in and join the discussion. Our Reverend Shad is also Zooming his Monday meditation services every Monday at 5:30 for some guided meditation with Shad. And Norma is also doing her alternative healing group through Zoom the 2nd and 4th Thursday every month, and everyone's invited to come join in on that. And lastly, we have our singles group. This is a group for getting ready for your next relationship that meets the 1st and 3rd Tuesday of every month at 6:30, and everyone's welcome to join. If you don't have our logins to get on Zoom, please send us an email at info@unityofboulder.com, and we will get you the info. And once you have the login, it's the same login for every class and group that we do on Zoom. So please join us for that. And as always, we are live streaming all of our services: our Wednesday meditation with Jack and Norma, our Saturday service with Reverend Shad, and obvious that you're watching this right now, our Sunday services at 9 and 11 a.m. So keep joining us. We love having you here. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We're glad you're here today, and we are going to sing a song that you hopefully already know. So sing along with us at home. We want to hear you. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. Take it, Larry. And when the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine until tomorrow, let it be. I wake up to the sounds of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Yeah. Thank you, musicians, everyone.
Beautiful. I love that song. Seems extremely appropriate right now, too, especially with all that's going on, and to know that we just have to let it be and trust that something bigger is at hand. I just wanted to come into the presence of our lives and close our eyes for a minute and just join in prayer, recognizing that every single one of us are a part of this community, and we're tuning in from our separate homes and separate places, but we are all one in the heart. And we thank you, God, for bringing us together to remember our connection and our community so that we may feel like we are going through this together. The big affirmation right now is we're all going through this together. Spirit, we feel your love and we feel your guidance, and we're open and receptive to learn that which this is being called for us to learn about our individual selves and as a collective. We're grateful for this time to remember the heightened consciousness that you bring through us. And we'll give to this time, this hour, for connecting and learning and remembering that which is the truth of our being. Thank you, Mother God. Amen. I wanted to start with a short video just to kind of bring us into our feeling place. You know, I think many of us are caught up in the intellect with so many facts everywhere, and we're trying to discern what's right, what's real, what's not, and sometimes we just have to get into the softness of observing just the little miracles of life. And so I wanted to share a little video that I took this morning on my ride in from Lions, and it does have some sound on it. All in God's timing. I'll move on if it's not working. and it's something that you'll be able to observe in real life when I share what I'll be sharing with you. Oh, here it is. Look at all these little babies. They've all been born in the last few days. The most magical thing. Everybody's been stopping here because it's just a bunch of moms and babies. Look at, there's 3 babies right there. Look out there, mamas and babies. Look at, that's a nursing one. Oh, no, she's got twins. Oh my gosh. Oh, you wanna give yourself a treat. You've got to come and visit this place. It's like a baby sheep nursery. Oh, more babies. More babies. For me, what is getting me through this time of isolation and children's climbing the walls and the stresses that are surrounding us, by all of it, it's nature that has been keeping my heart soft and supple and able to move more freely through life, remembering that not all of the beauty has left our lives, but there's so much beauty to be seen in nature. And that particular video where I took that is right on the corner of Nelson and 36. It's right at a big yellow farm there. And if you live in the Boulder area, I would highly recommend you drive out there because all of these sheep were dropped off maybe this week sometime. It used to be a completely barren field the whole time I've lived out there. And all of a sudden there's like, I don't know, maybe 300 sheep. And in the last few days, it's just crawling in little teeny tiny baby sheep. So if you want something to lift your spirits and to just see magic, it is really like a little baby sheep nursery. So my talk today is called Spirit is Your Guide Through These Uncharted Territories. And I feel like many of us are trying to figure out how to know what the next step is. And we're not exempt for that as a church. You know, obviously the goal is to get everybody to come back into the sanctuary and be back as a community in the physical. However, we want to make sure that when we do that, that it's safe and it's the right thing to do. And so we have to kind of stay steadfast in knowing that we have to trust the superiors at B and also trust what our intuition is as well. In Prosperity Secrets of the Ages, it says it this way: what you think about everything in life affects your health, wealth, and happiness. What you think about God and man, what you think about life and death, what you think about marriage and divorce, what you think about your husband, wife, children-in-laws, business associates, neighbors, and friends, what you think about world affairs in general and your own life in particular. All these attitudes and many more affect your peace, your light, your success in trying times. In Genesis 11, it says, later they built the Tower of Babel, which they hoped would reach heaven. The word Babel means confusion, and it is confusion that brings failure in life. Confused thinking, confused standards of living, confused emotions that are a mixture of good and evil all cause failure. Often, man is like the descendants of Noah as he builds confusion into his thoughts, feelings, and actions. It is then that failure seems to tower over him, just as the Tower of Babel overwhelmed the descendants of Noah. Oh, there's no split between these two slides somehow. Somebody has to put a split there. Anywho, so does that sound familiar? The confused thinking. If there is nothing that I can say that we can be sure about is that there's confusion right now. And you can turn on any TV station, you can watch your YouTubes, you can watch Facebook, and it's a different message everywhere. You know, whether, the coronavirus is more dangerous than the flu, or if we're going to be able to not be locked into our houses as of tomorrow, and now it's been off to the 8th, and every state is different. But one thing is for sure, that there is confusion, and I don't think that anybody is out to get us, to confuse us. I think they're trying to figure out what is the best way to handle something that has never ever happened in the history before. So as we're still looking for answers, we instinctively get unsure. And when we don't really know, when we're in the midst of change, a lot of people's nature is to move into fear because it's the unknown, right? And so maybe there's a way to shift that energy from the unknown to recognizing that there's also the unseen at task right now, the unseen realms, which is just as real as the real realms, the seen realms, right? So to put our energy into that which has always had a divine directing energy for our lives, right? So to take that time to meditate, to take the time to sit in nature and observe that nature is still flowing and moving and doing everything that it ever did. If anything, we've been put aside to figure out how we can bring the humans back into the situation and keep them alive, and how we can also save our economy as it's tanking through this entire thing. So there's a lot of fear around all of the things that we're witnessing, but the one power is God. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lead not unto thine own understanding, which is not only your own understanding, but what you're witnessing that the world is saying and their understanding, because they don't know what they're talking about either. So what we need to be leaning on is the divine understanding and leaning into that. And that energy is what's always really set us up for success in life. And if there's anything that we can really take from this experience is that we have time to sit with the divine, right? We are directly guided by the Father, Mother Earth. We are directly in connection always and have access to information to divinely guide us. But we're kind of distracted from our own intuition because there's so much going on outside right now that's keeping us from going inside to hear that still small voice that is trying to get our attention to divinely direct us during this time. Everything that you have nurtured in yourself until now has set you up to be ready for this endurance test. And yet, for a lot of people, they say, I don't feel God through this. And then I've had some people say, I've never felt closer to God. This is not the time to shrink in the face of uncertainty, but instead grab hold of all of the things you've learned about spirit and the consistency of that energy. It's constantly giving you information, if you're only willing to let it. There has never been, or ever will be, someone outside of yourself that can tell you how to keep safe, how to stay financially on top of this, how to stay healthy, how to remain calm in the eye of the storm. You have within you a spiritual meter. When leaned upon, will guide you in real time, whether this is the moment to enter a store, pull your money out of the stock market, keep your business open, meet up with friends. If there has ever been a time to practice what you preach, it is now. The only thing you can lean in on right now is the unseen realms for direct and clear direction. It's literally a search for God in all of it. And what is the outpicturing of what your individual growth is about? Because everybody is growing through this. And everybody's at different levels of their spiritual journey. Some people probably dove right back into their spiritual work and they went deeper and deeper to find their peace in the midst of all of this. Some other people signed up with everything that was going on and then realized that they're walking around in anxiety and panic and remembered, oh yes, I can pray, I can meditate. but to recognize that the unseen realms are as real as the seen realms. There are so many ways that we can access the unseen realms, and this is one of them. Edgar Cayce famously said that nothing of importance happens in our lives that isn't first foreshadowed by a dream. This doesn't mean that all of our dreams predict the future, nor do they necessarily tell us what to do, but they do provide insights from our subconscious or our soul mind to assist us with whatever is going on in our lives. The subconscious mind is like a bird high above the road we are traveling. It can see more than our conscious mind, and we have access to it through our dreams. The more we learn to recall and understand dreams, the better we understand our deeper fears, desires, and unconscious knowing, as the purpose of our dreams is to make us more consciously aware of these underlying motivations and how they apply to our waking life. And I don't know about you, but I do know about me, and I've had some extremely profound dreams throughout this process, and some very, very stressful and scary, and some very enlightening and actually gave me a pause to go, wow, that's an interesting idea, and to really write down what you write. Like last night, I had a dream about an old friend named Martin Middledorf, which many of you know, and I was with him all night last night before I'm speaking today. And he went into the angelic world about 3 or 4 years ago, and he deeply loved this church. And I feel like he was just spending the evening with me to just share and support this ministry and to just remind me that he's still here, and what a powerful thing that is to have a parishioner that totally helped us when we had the massive flood in 2013, just came in and oversaw the rebuilding of our basement and everything, and just to realize that there's something bigger at hand for us to know that unseen realm is guiding us and directing us. I also had a dream this last week where I was sitting with a shaman, and I remember a few things about it, but I had Crystal sitting in front of me, and she was pointing out the crystals that had actual powers to them to help me have deeper insight. And they were actual crystals that I own, and now I know the two that are the most important. And the funny thing is that the two I always knew were the most important crystals that I hold before I speak. But right at the end, before she left me, she said to me, "You need to go into nature and find your birthing nest." That was the part that stood out the most, and I woke up and I wrote that down. You need to go into nature and find your birthing nest. I don't even know why that touches me, but it's just, I wouldn't make that up in my head. That the Spirit is birthing, obviously, something in us. And I have had moments where this is really, really stressful and scary even. I'm tired of speaking up here to cameras. I'm getting used to it. I mean, it's nice to see you, Steve, who's running the camera, and Laura, and Josh, and Heather, and Chad. I mean, we're just kind of a big family in here, and I hope that it touches you guys, this sermon. But the greater whole, you're all out there, and I know that you are. But I miss you desperately. So, to go into nature and find your birthing nest says to me that we have to relax, keep our heart soft. And if we're feeling grief, to recognize that when the heart is soft and it is not signing up with fear or disconnection or not feeling a part of a community or feeling alone, that this is a time for us to adapt. This is a time of readjustment. This is a time for us to recognize where we can improve areas of our lives, so when we do go back into life, hopefully not the same way that we were doing it before, because that was not bringing about a healing for this planet, but to witness what it is that we're all here to do and be as God's extension into this world, for this planet. So it's adaptability, it's finding resilience. It's also finding acceptance that this might not end in the next month. And a lot of people are saying that that's not going to be the case. But we can hold love in the midst of the loss of the normal that we knew. When we move that love into that loss, we are moving into the greater picture of what God's strength has given us all through time. In Psalms 46:1, it says, God is our refuge and our strength, an ever-present help in trouble. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. I shared this a couple months ago in a talk series that I gave, that James von Prague says that 20% of our souls lives within our bodies, and 80% is in touch with everything else beyond the unseen realm. So if you think that only 20% of ourselves is part of this human physical body, but there's literally, like, if you just almost visualize tentacles that connect to all of the unseen realms, that are all we have to do is get quiet, to get a download, to ask our guides to tell us what to do, to be open to whispers and nudges and reminders that we actually do know what to do, if we will get quiet enough to listen. Like, Spirit, should I go in the store right now? Spirit, should I, just whatever question you have that comes up, and listen for the subtle answers. Confucius says, the green reed which bends in the wind is stronger than the mighty oak which breaks in a storm. The green reed which bends in the wind is stronger than the mighty oak which breaks in the storm. Unity's third principle of the 5 basic principles says this: human beings create their experiences by the activity of their thinking. Everything in the manifest realm has its beginning in thoughts. It has its beginning in thoughts. So, if we are holding on to fear before we go to bed, or thinking about how we're going to get back to work, which I know many of you are very, very concerned about finances and how you will make it by during this time. There's so many stresses that are coming up for people, and don't let the world tell you how to navigate this. Even if you can't see how you're going to get back to your job and how you're going to have financial support, lean in to God. Give your life to that wisdom and surrender. Relax and release. And listen to those whispers of the words of guidance that will put you in the right place, at the right time, at the right website, at the right place for you to be able to at least financially handle whatever it is, or whatever the physical issue is, or whatever it is. There are no limits to Spirit rushing in when we make room for that energy. But when we're walking around in a state of stress and tensity and worry and fear, first of all, it lowers our immune system. It actually makes us susceptible to this disease. And there's no room for the wisdom of the great teachers that precede us to move in and through all of us. You start following your intuition. You start following that divine urge. So, for example, when you have an iffy feeling about entering a store, listen to it, right? All you have to ever do is ask Spirit, and you will be told. You will be given a nudge. I was doing a meeting with a friend last week with social distancing outdoors, so don't worry. I don't need to get emails about it, but she reminded me of pendulums. And this is not a pendulum. This is just a necklace that I have, and most people just use necklaces that they wear because they carry your own energy. But you can ask a pendulum to show you what is yes and what is no. And this kind of shows that subtle body that's in our body, right, when spirit is trying to communicate. So I'm going to ask this pendulum to tell me what yes looks like. And that's going front and back. Okay, I'm going to ask it to stop. And now tell me what no is. I hope the cameras are close enough for you to actually see this. Right? So it went sideways. It's a very simple thing to be able to be using before you walk into a grocery store or take your money out of the stock market or leave your wife because she's driving you crazy because you've been stuck in the house too long. I'm just kidding, of course, with the third one. I have the best marriage ever, and I can tell you we're bickering more than we ever have because we are around each other constantly. It's just a human thing, right? So, or for all of us, what is the big question? Here it is. Do I have coronavirus? No, I do not. Now let's ask it this. Have I had coronavirus? It's saying no. So, these are tools that connect you to spirit. You know, we really don't think that there's actually tangible things that we can do, but for me, I discovered an allergy that I had in the last year because of a pendulum, and it has changed the quality of my life. I have had skin conditions my whole life, and I have tried everything. I've done cleanses, I've done everything on the planet, and nothing ever would get rid of these skin issues that I dealt with. And finally, I went through every food, everything with a pendulum, and finally I discovered it was soy. And soy is in literally everything. I've had to get rid of, I have to make everything from scratch to make sure that there's not soy, and I don't have a rash to be found anywhere. And what told me about it was this. Going over bottles of food. It's got a lot more power than you could ever imagine. I'm just trying to give you some tools so you don't feel so out of control. We can actually have direct contact with spirit, right? So this last week, on Tuesday, I was home and Mike came running inside the house and he said, you have to come outside, you have to come outside. Wait till you see this. And I'm going to play another video and it has sound on it as well.
This is incredible. I've never seen so many elk. Our whole mountain behind our house is just filled. Just literally filled. Look at this whole family. And you go up here. Let's see, where are they? There's a whole other family right here. See this whole, all their little heads?
Hi, Morgan.
Where are you guys?
See this?
They're so camouflaged you can barely see them because I'm using a cell phone and it's not the best camera. If I've ever wanted to buy a camera, it is now because I'm seeing so many beautiful landscapes. But there was over 250 elk on our back mountain and we haven't seen them all year. And I've been kind of in a grief about it because I enjoy seeing them, but I've never seen so many. And all of my neighbors, which there's about 9 houses in my neighborhood, everybody just slowly appeared on my dirt road. And we, kept our distance, but we're all kind of in a circle, and we're all just staring at these elk in awe. And there was this crisp smell of rain in the air. And it was one of those time-stop moments. There was a closeness between these people that I've never felt before. I've always liked them, but there was this palpable feeling of God in this moment. And the next day I looked up the elk totem to find out what was the message of all these elk appearing this week. The elk totem can be one of your directions in the medicine wheel, or sometimes it will come to you for a small journey when you need to be reminded to pace yourself on a project, to protect your stamina until the project is complete. Elk may also come to you when you need to be reminded how important community is. What are the odds of that? to remind you how important community is. Think of how isolated we are. So it's to pace ourselves and remind us how important community is. Elk medicine teaches us that by pacing ourselves, we increase our stamina. Elk people may not complete a project first, but when it is done, they have not burnt themselves out. Elk are able to look at the long journey and to hit their stride to maintain energy and perseverance. And think about that, it's kind of like adaptability. We are seeing that this isn't coming to an end right now. So this is the elk are telling us to pace ourselves, to find the peace in the presence, regardless whether we know what's happening in a month, 6 months, or a year. To pace ourselves in our stride in order to keep our peace, to keep our soft hearts, to keep our sense of wholeness and lovingness and all of it, that everything's going to be okay, but there is a duration of time that's taking place right now. And that we don't have control of, but the elk medicine tells us to pace ourselves. Quit hearing the mayor say, oh, next week, or in 2 weeks, and we wait, we can't wait. Oh, you can't. Nope, we can't re-enter. There's something at hand that's in divine order. So let's let that be the case. Marianne Williamson says it this way. Wherever you have been, and whatever you have done so far, your entire life was building up to this moment. Now is the time to burst forth into your greatness. A greatness you could never have achieved without going through exactly the things you've gone through. Everything you have experienced was grist for the mill by which you have become who you are. Grist of the mill, it has deepened and made you understand that you can make it through anything, through everything you've gone through. As low as you might have descended, in God there are no limits to how high you can go now. It's not too late. You are not too old. You are right on time. It was all for this leap in consciousness. All of it. Every difficult thing that has built strength in your spiritual being has been building you up for this moment where we're in a leap of consciousness. And Julio Vincent Cambudo says this, one of the messages that has come out of this is that we are all united. We are all in this together. We are at an integral point where the people of the future will look back at us at this time and see how we handled this. That the people living at that time in 2020 made changes that literally transformed the human race totally for the positive. We are united, and we were able to dig down deep and reach for spiritual resources we didn't know we had. We are the ones that we have been seeking all this time as we have been watching environmental crisis. We have been watching lies be leaders. We have been watching everything imploding, that which we know as spiritual being is not right. So it's tumbling down. It's the Tower of Babel. It is tumbling down. And that takes time for the disorder to tumble down so that right order may grow within us. And then we step forth as the wise angels that we were put here to do and be, to never forget what we have learned while we have been pacing ourselves in spiritual consciousness. There's a spiritual leader from the Andes Mountains that put something up on YouTube yesterday, and I transcribed it, and I want to read this to you. As these sparks of light present here and are ready to help humanity, the moment has arrived, my dear brothers and sisters. We have been sent to create a difference on earth, to the east, to the west, to the north, and to the south, to accomplish Spirit's task. The higher guides ask us not to go back to sleep, not to go back to our old houses, because through our will we have made ourselves available to the higher energies, to be able to help out all of our brothers and sisters. Our prayers have been received and our goal is being reached. They say that now is the moment to maintain ourselves as energy projectors, whatever location we find ourselves in this experience. A place where we are invited to activate the real light angels, because the current fallen angels and the angels of darkness are doing their task, but it is nothing. We need to confront ourselves. We are the light workers. Then we are going to resolve this through light. And the light is nothing else than harmony, tranquility, and peace. And it's actually an inner tranquility, harmony, and peace that we carry in our heart. This message is what needs to remain in a state of complete calmness. And we will see the new earth. We'll take an offering for unity now.
Thank you, Syntysche, for that not only informative but practical message. I'm sure people are scrambling on Amazon right now to find one of those pendulums for themselves. We sell them in the bookstore because on Amazon you're only going to get them made out of toilet paper because that's all they're allowed to ship right now. So you might as well get it from our bookstore. So it's a great place to get that. My wife's over there. That's funny. All right. So we're going to take an offering now, and I do like to remind you, if you look at the visual of being in an inner tube and you're in a river and you're holding on to a branch and you're not going anywhere, that is the visual of most of our lives with our finances. We hoard, we block, we stop up the flow of this energy and this abundance that moves through our lives. And by giving, by donating, by tithing, we let go of that tree and we begin to move with that flow. That flow is trying to go forward, and when we stop and we work against it, we're actually damming up the prosperity in our lives. That doesn't only result in financial situations, it results in spiritual and relational and emotional, psychological. You have to release that flow by giving, and that's what we're doing right now. So we are going to bless this offering. I invite you to take it into your hands if it is physical and you're ready to send it to us. If it's digital, just see it balled up in the palm of your hands as a ball of light, ready to be sent out. And say this offering blessing with me. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive because I give. And remember, we have the many ways to give, many digital formats. If you can find the donate button on your screen, wherever that might be. If you're on the website, you just scroll down. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, it's usually up at the top. And of course, you can just text or use the Easy Tithe app. Thank you.
So we have Heidi Alina has sent us a video today of her playing the piano. What's cool about the video is that she does close-ups, so you get to watch her hands, which you don't always get to see live. But she is playing the Haydn Sonata in F major, the Adagio movement. And there's also, I believe Heather's going to put up her information on Facebook. She's been doing some live events. So if you're interested to hear more music from her, you can check her out on Facebook. Beautiful.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you, Heidi. Beautiful music. So we want to let you know that we have the Zoom with the ministers after this service. It will start in about 5 minutes after we complete the service. So you can join us with that, and Heather will let you know how to do that. But let's close with I release and I let go. Let's just get it out of our bodies and let's feel spirit
Okay.
right now.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Come on. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yes, I'm only here for God.
Woo! Thanks for joining us.